that Floyd's behavior is not criminally resisting arrest. This is someone who's having mental problems, who's behaving in a counterproductive, irrational manner. And I'm sure to some degree Chauvin knew that. Chauvin was one of those cops, in my view, who liked being a cop because he liked being the boss. And that's what people saw in that just short visual.
No, when he stares up and stares at the car and says, "I'm doing this and there's nothing anybody can do to stop me."
Exactly. It's why it was so inflammatory. The white guy with his knee on the neck of the black man showing he doesn't give a damn is the way he's responding to the people. And I have no doubt that's who that guy is. And so that's where but the big mistake, the reason why he doesn't have much of a defense is because he's been trained to recognize excited delirium. He's been trained to involve a medical health response in that circumstance and situation. He's been trained to know the difference. I mean, I brought one of these cases in Wisconsin. A guy committed armed robbery. Now it was not the worst kind of armed robbery. Basically went with his buddy. His buddy insisted that the ex had stuff that was really his, domestic dispute situation. Turned out not to really be his, but that kind of dynamic. And my guy was a relatively, as criminals go, not too mean a guy. He confessed right away. Police pulled him over. He's like, yeah, screwed up. My buddy there was wrong. But he was an epileptic. He gets taken into the jail. He tells them, I haven't had my shot or any epilepsy treatment in almost a day, which was already a problem. Of course, they do nothing about it. And then he starts experiencing seizures, banging his head against the floor, starts urinating on himself, defecating on himself. Well, the geniuses at the Milwaukee County jail system decided that meant he was resisting arrest because he just wanted to make them smell his self-defecation and self-urination. And so they basically picked him up and treated him like a garbage bag, and how they walked him around the jail, took him over to the hospital, then got him right out of the hospital. He started experiencing conditions all over again, treated him even worse all the way back, ended up dead. Brought the case, and when you go through it, you find out they're all trained on this stuff to recognize the big difference between a mental health issue and a criminal resistance issue. Now, here would be the best defense for the cops. They do experience people who fake medical conditions as a way to try to resist arrest. But there are clear, easy ways to distinguish it. And just the fact that Floyd is, when you have the 911 call plus Floyd is still there when he knew they called the police, by my understanding, then the guy is behaving in a manner that's a mental health issue, that's likely a drug overdose issue. So your obligation at that point, protect and serve, is to get immediate medical health treatment. And instead, they beat him up and killed him. So I don't think they're going to win their defense.
Well, and this actually is going to lead into the next question. Before I get there, does the police union have to play a role in the defense of the officers? I think the answer is yes. Sir, how good is the shield for realism?
Extremely good. Extremely good.
Okay, so here's my question. I mean, my imagining is that the only defense that might exist for Chauvin is Floyd died of something totally unrelated, purely spontaneous, and just bad coincidence that it happened when he had his knee on his neck for 9 minutes. And I say good luck with that. The question now is, though, and I know people are asking this, the police autopsy comes out and confirms that the death was not asphyxiation or strangulation. Whether or not you believe that, does that weaken the prosecution's case?
Two different components. I mean, in terms of the autopsy still also concluded that they believe they could not rule out that part of the cause of his heart attack was the restraint, him being put under restraints and the whole condition that was happening to him. So they'll be able to get past that issue. That's why they also charge felony murder, because that makes the whole incident part of why he dies. And they can't, even the autopsy doesn't rule that out. It says the combination of his drug condition and the nature of his restraints and the police conduct, they don't know which cause. It's like a true cause of death rather than our COVID-19 causes of death. Normally there's 3 or 4 possible causes, but that will be sufficient for them in front of the jury. Their biggest, and that'll be part of the defense, I'm sure. But the real part of the defense will be a moral undercurrent, which will be, hey, this guy was a dangerous criminal. He's a man on drugs who they were just trying to control and wanting it to all be calm. Their main defense won't really be that defense, so that will be the one in court. Their main defense will be all the riots that are happening. So because that case I just talked about that I had in Milwaukee, had to settle the case before it reached the jury because I realized the jury was going to vote 12